The Transcendent Seed of Abraham by E Newbold Jr. Part 7. Solomon. David wanted to build the temple as a house for Yahweh, but Yahweh did not allow him to do so because he was a man of war and had shed blood. 1 Chronicles 28:3. The promise was made to David that his son Solomon would build the temple instead. Solomon's name means peace. David had been promised that his son Solomon would be a man of rest, that he would be given rest from all his enemies round about. Peace and quiet was given to Israel during Solomon's days. 1 Chronicles 22:9. The temple was built in around 966 BC, and the glory of Yahweh filled it. Solomon reigned as king of Israel for 40 years and died. The divided kingdom, Judah and Israel. Solomon's son Rehoboam was made king in his place. Rehoboam rejected the advice of the elders to lighten the burden upon the people of Israel. Consequently, Israel sent for Jeroboam and made him king. In doing so, they divided the kingdom. The kingdom of Judah to the south consisted of the tribes of Judah, Benjamin, and the Levites in their cities. The kingdom of Israel to the north consisted of the remaining tribes of Israel. The seed of Abraham passed on through all the tribes of Israel, but the royal seed passed through Judah, specifically through the kings of Judah as descendants of David. Rehoboam, king of Judah, was David's grandson and of the line of Judah. This was also the messianic lineage. Matthew 1:6-16. Jeroboam, king of Israel, was the son of Nebat, an Ephraimite. He had rebelled against Solomon and then Rehoboam. Prophet and the promise of a new covenant. During the time of the divided kingdom, Yahweh raised up many prophets. Many prophecies were given through them regarding the monarchs of the two kingdoms. The people of the northern kingdom were later referred to as Ephraim, and this territory was later known as Samaria. The prophecy that contributes significantly to our story was spoken through Jeremiah. Yahweh made a promise saying, "Behold, the days come, says Yahweh, where I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they broke, although I was a husband to them, says Yahweh. But this shall be the covenant that I shall make with the house of Israel. After those days, says Yahweh, I will put my law in their inward parts and write it in their hearts, and will be their God, and they shall be my people. They shall teach no more every man his neighbour and every man his brother, saying, Know Yahweh, for they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them, says Yahweh. For I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more." Jeremiah 31:31-34, and Ezekiel 11:19. What makes this covenant new and different from the one given to Moses? The difference has to do with what it is written upon. The law that was given through Moses was written on tablets of stone. The word to Jeremiah is that the law would be written upon the hearts of men. That which was on the outside of them would be put on the inside of them. The law that they had tried to keep will miraculously keep them. It will no longer be a matter of what they can do, but of what Yahweh does in them. It will no longer be their works, it will be His works. What a promise. Israel and Samaria. Moses had warned the children of Israel that if they failed to observe all his commandments, the curse would come upon them. Yahweh would bring a nation against them from afar, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flies, a nation whose tongue they would not understand. He would scatter them among all people from one end of the earth even unto the other, and there they would serve other gods, which neither they nor their fathers knew. Deuteronomy 28:49 and 64. Yahweh had prophesied to Moses that they would indeed be this way. He said, "Behold, you will rest with your fathers, and this people will rise and play the harlot with the gods of the foreigners of the land, where they go to be among them, and they will forsake me and break my covenant which I have made with them." Deuteronomy 31:16. The harlotry of Israel and Judah is dramatically pictured in Ezekiel 23, where Yahweh portrays two sisters of harlotry. One sister is the northern kingdom of Israel, Samaria, and the other is the southern kingdom of Judah, or Jerusalem. Because of this harlotry, Yahweh gave Samaria over to the Assyrians in 722 BC and scattered them to the nations. Thus, the 10 tribes to the north were lost. Their identity as Israelites became obscure. Judah saw what had happened to her older sister Samaria, but was more corrupt than she. Judah failed to learn from her example. Thus, she was taken captive and led away into Babylon, beginning in 587 BC. Unlike her elder sister, however, Judah maintained her identity, and her people were called Jews. The term Jew derives from Judah. It primarily has to do with those who were in the southern kingdom of Judah, the tribes of Judah and Benjamin. Technically then, all Jews are Israelites, but not all Israelites are Jews. Through Jeremiah, Yahweh instructed Judah to build houses and dwell in them while in Babylon. They were to plant gardens and eat their fruit, take wives and have sons and daughters, and seek the peace of the city where he had caused each of them to be carried away captive. Jeremiah 29:4-7. The return from Babylon. Yahweh promised through Jeremiah that after 70 years in captivity, he would visit Judah and perform his good word toward them and cause them to return to Jerusalem. Jeremiah 29:10. After the 70 years in Babylon, Yahweh stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, to decree the return of the Jews to Jerusalem in Judah. He instructed them to build the house of Yahweh. He told them to take silver and gold, goods and livestock with them. Ezra 1. Zerubbabel, the grandson of King Jehoiakim of Judah, led the first group of Jews who returned. They rebuilt the temple between 520 and 516 BC. Ezra 3:8-13. Ezra, a scribe of the Torah, was allowed to return from exile in 458 BC. He had prepared his heart to seek the Torah of Yahweh and to teach the statutes and judgments. Ezra 7:6-10. Nehemiah was the son of Hachaliah. He had been the cupbearer for King Artaxerxes in Babylon. Upon his return in 444 BC, he governed Judah and oversaw the rebuilding of the wall around Jerusalem. Judaism. When the exiles returned from Babylon, they brought back something they had not taken with them. They brought back the embryo of a religion known today as Judaism. While some say that Judaism as a religion had its beginnings in Abraham and Moses, others say it began in Babylon. It is difficult to document when it really began. We do know that the formation of the synagogues with rabbis did not exist before the Babylonian exile. By the time Yeshua came, several religious sects existed: Pharisees, Sadducees, Zealots, and Essenes. The scribes and lawyers were also woven into the fabric of religion. The code for religious behaviour was very strict. The Pharisees had developed hundreds of external rules for daily living as fence laws to keep them a safe distance from violating the Torah. The possibility of ever keeping the whole law was out of reach. The Jews preserved the Torah, and that was good, but they did so in the context of religion. The Mosaic covenant, though they were to faithfully keep it and observe all that Yahweh had said for them to do, was in reality a picture of what Yahweh himself promised to do. Hebrews 10:1. He was their righteousness, their peace, their protector, their provider, their health and healing, and their fortress. He was their salvation. The Jews, through Judaism, turned the covenant into a contract and the promise into performance. It became, as is true of all religion, a matter of works righteousness. If you, a man, do, then I, God, will do. That is legalism. Yahweh's plan was, is, and always will be based on his performance, which is grace, requiring only that we believe, which is faith. Somewhere along the way, circumcision in particular was no longer the token of Yahweh's covenant with Abraham. It became the means whereby one was made righteous. Judaism is the religion of the Jews. It is not the religion of true Israel. True Israel does not have a religion. True Israel has a father as God. Yahweh wanted a people to be in relationship with him through faith. He never meant for them to take those statutes and judgments and make them the means whereby they became acceptable to him. They were already chosen long before he gave them the Torah. Our obedience to Yahweh does not win us his favour. On the contrary, his favour towards us wins our desire to obey him. The Maccabees. Between the time Yahweh spoke through Malachi, the last prophet of the Old Covenant, and the time of Yeshua's birth, 400 years passed. Several foreign powers dominated the land during these centuries. The Assyrians, the Greeks under Alexander, the kingdom of Ptolemy, and the Seleucians. The Syrian Seleucians ruled until the Jewish family of Maccabees gained independence in 143 BC. The Jews maintained their independence until the Romans occupied the land in 63 BC under General Pompey. The patriarchs of Israel knew this strategic piece of land as Canaan because the Canaanites inhabited it. Abraham's descendants thought of the country as the Promised Land. The land was called Israel, or the Land of Israel, from the time following Joshua's conquest onwards. Herodotus, the Greek father of history, in the 5th century BC, was the first to call it Palestine, including part of Syria, a name that stemmed from the Philistines, who were Israel's arch-enemy in the land. Harper's Bible commentary rightly affirms, Palestine, regardless of its physical boundaries, has always been thought of as the homeland of Israelites and Jews.